There is a moment in every trader's life when the charts blur, when the strategies collapse, and when the confidence that once fueled bold decisions evaporates into thin air. That moment is not just a bad day. It is the breaking point. It is the point where logic and discipline slip through your fingers, where your brain no longer registers the sting of losses because the pain has become constant, dull, and heavy. At first, each losing trade feels like a sharp cut, but after enough of them, the body numbs itself. You don't react anymore. You just sit there, watching red candle after red candle, unable to move, unable to breathe, unable to think. And this is where most traders get it wrong. They think the battle is with the market. But the truth is, at that point, the battle is not against the chart in front of you. It is against the storm inside of you. Picture this. You've been on a winning streak. Your confidence is high, your balance is climbing, and your system feels flawless. Every trade looks crisp, every entry feels calculated, every exit feels smart. You go to bed proud, you wake up eager, you finally believe you've cracked the code. But then, one ordinary morning, the setup you've trusted countless times betrays you. It collapses in front of your eyes. You tell yourself, it's fine, it happens, just variance. But then it happens again, and again. Before you even realize it, you are down 5 trades, 10 trades, 15 trades. Each stop loss is hit with surgical precision, as if the market itself is mocking you, as if someone on the other side of the screen is watching your every move and waiting for the exact moment to destroy your confidence. That is the cruel illusion of the losing streak. The human brain is not designed for streaks of pain. It interprets patterns as destiny. When you win repeatedly, you start believing you are untouchable, that the streak will never end. And when you lose repeatedly, the same brain convinces you of the opposite, that maybe you were never good, that maybe your edge has vanished, that maybe this dream of financial freedom through trading was nothing but a mirage. This is where the danger lies, because the illusion of hopelessness doesn't just whisper, it screams. And when it screams, traders start to abandon their rules. They throw money at random trades, desperate to feel the rush of a win. They double their lot size, not out of strategy, but out of revenge. They transform from disciplined professionals into gamblers at a casino, hoping that one miracle spin will bring them redemption. And almost every single time, the result is devastation. Accounts are blown. Years of work erased in hours, confidence shattered in ways that take months, sometimes years, to rebuild. If you've been there, you know the taste. It's bitter, metallic, heavy. You can feel it in your chest, that sinking sensation that maybe this is it. Maybe you've lost the game. Maybe you'll never come back. And yet, what most traders don't realize is that this breaking point, as terrifying as it feels, is not the end of your journey. It is the invitation to transform. Let me be clear, the breaking point is not reserved for beginners. Even the most experienced traders, the ones who have read every book, studied every candlestick, and back-tested every system, eventually face this wall. Why? Because the market is not just a puzzle to be solved. It is a mirror, and what it reflects back at you is not just your technical skill, but your psychological resilience. The market doesn't care if you have a PhD in economics or if you've spent 10,000 hours on backtesting. It doesn't care if you have the best indicators or the cleanest setups. What it cares about, or better said, what it exposes, is whether you can hold yourself together when the ground beneath you collapses. Because trading is not just numbers on a screen, it is identity. Every trade becomes a vote on whether you are competent, whether you belong here, whether all the hours of study meant anything at all. That is why losing streaks cut so deeply. They don't just attack your account. They attack your sense of self. And here's the cruel trick of the spiral. It disguises itself as urgency. It tells you that you must act now, that you cannot step away, that the next trade is the one that will save you. It convinces you that walking away is weakness, that resetting is failure. And because money is tied to survival, to freedom, to pride, the spiral pulls you in with a gravity that feels impossible to resist. But let me give you a hard truth. The market does not care. It has no memory. It will not reward you for pushing harder when you're broken. It will not bend to your desperation. It will be here tomorrow, next week, next year. The only thing that might not be here if you keep spiraling is your account and your discipline. Imagine a boxer who enters the ring, takes a series of brutal hits in the first round, and begins to doubt his own strength. If he convinces himself he's weak, the fight is already over before the bell even rings again. But if he understands that those hits are not proof of weakness, just part of the game, then he can adjust his guard, change his strategy, and come back stronger in the next round. Trading is no different. A losing streak is not a verdict on your ability. It is not proof that you are doomed. It is simply turbulence, the first round of a long fight. What determines the outcome is not the blows you take, but whether you have the resilience to stand back up. And that resilience begins with awareness. The spiral can only consume you if you don't notice you're in it. The problem is, most traders never stop long enough to realize they've already crossed the line. They keep trading, keep clicking, keep convincing themselves they're in control, when in reality, they are running on pure emotion. That is why I want you to ask yourself right now, are you showing the signs of the spiral? Are you increasing lot size after losses? Are you trading setups you wouldn't normally touch? Are you staring at your P&L more than your checklist? If you are, then the spiral has already begun, and if you don't break it, it will break you. But here is the good news. The spiral is not inevitable. It can be stopped. The breaking point can become the breakthrough. And in the next part of this journey, I'm going to show you how. We're going to dive into the patterns that every trader falls into, the hidden psychology behind losing streaks, and the reset protocol that can pull you out of the spiral before it consumes everything. But before we reveal that reset, I need to share with you the truth most traders never hear. The spiral does not start with the market. It starts with you. And until you face that truth, you will keep falling into the same trap. So stay with me, because what comes next might be the most important revelation of your trading career. Every trader thinks they will see the spiral coming. They believe they're too smart, too disciplined, too experienced to fall into it. But the truth is, no one sees the spiral until they are already inside it. That's why we need a mirror. A way to test ourselves before the spiral consumes everything. So here is the spiral test. Answer these 4 questions honestly. First, after 2 or 3 consecutive losses, do you increase your lot size to make it back faster? Second, have you ever entered a trade that didn't fully meet your setup rules just because you wanted action or revenge? Third, do you find yourself staring at your P&L more than at your checklist or your actual system? And fourth, have you ever moved your stop-loss further away after price got close, hoping the market would turn around? If you answered yes to 2 or more of these, the spiral is already pulling you in. And the longer you ignore it, the stronger it becomes. The spiral is not about numbers, it's about identity. At first it whispers, just 1 more trade. Just increase the size a little. You'll recover faster. But soon, those whispers turn into commands, and you obey them without even realizing. You tell yourself you are still in control, that you are making rational decisions, but deep down, you know you're no longer trading the market. You are trading your fear. And fear is the most expensive position you can ever hold. That's why the spiral is so deadly, because it doesn't just take your money. It takes your judgment. It takes your discipline. It takes your sense of who you are. Let me tell you about Daniel. For weeks, Daniel was on a hot streak. His entries were sharp, his exits precise, his confidence soaring. He felt like a machine, like nothing could stop him. But then came the reversal. The first trade failed, then the second. By the 7th loss, Daniel was no longer following his rules. Instead of risking 1% per trade, he jumped to 5%. Convinced that a rebound was overdue, but the rebound never came. Within 2 weeks, his account was destroyed. Daniel walked away from trading in shame, convinced that maybe the dream was never real in the first place. But here's the lesson. Daniel didn't fail because the market turned. He failed because he didn't recognize the spiral when it started. He let the losses define him instead of interrupting them. Anna's story is different, but the lesson is the same. She was disciplined, calm, methodical. For years, she avoided disaster by following her system to the letter. But then came a month where nothing worked. 12 losses in a row. Her confidence cracked. On the 13th trade, she doubled her lot size, telling herself it had to turn. It didn't. Her account was bleeding, her nerves were shaking, and the spiral was tightening its grip. But unlike most, Anna did something rare. She stopped. She shut down her platform, walked away for 3 weeks, and forced herself to reset. She journaled, exercised, spent time with family. And when she came back, she wasn't chasing anymore. She started small, rebuilt her rhythm, and within 6 months, she was profitable again. That pause saved her career. Without it, she would have been another forgotten name in the trading graveyard. And then there's Mark. Mark's rules were so strict they almost felt robotic. Never risk more than 2%. Only trade setups that matched his criteria exactly. Walk away after 2 losses in a day. For months it worked. He was consistent, calm, profitable. But then came the week where nothing aligned. He forced a trade. It failed. Then another. His daily rule should have stopped him, but instead he whispered, "Just one more. I'll stop after this." But he didn't stop. The spiral had already taken him. By the end of the week, he had broken every one of his rules, chasing losses like a gambler at a slot machine. He wasn't trading anymore. He was spiraling. And he blew half his account before he realized what had happened. Once again, it wasn't the market that destroyed him. It was the spiral he built himself. The common thread in all these stories is not lack of knowledge. These traders knew what they were doing. They had systems, strategies, plans. The spiral doesn't need ignorance to survive. It thrives on emotion. It thrives on pride. It thrives on the illusion that walking away is weakness and that pressing harder will bring salvation. But here's the paradox. Pressing harder only makes the spiral spin faster. The only way out is to step back, to interrupt the cycle before it consumes you. Think about turbulence on an airplane. When the plane shakes, the pilot doesn't panic and yank the controls. He doesn't eject from the cockpit. He trusts his instruments, steadies the course, and lets the system do its job. The spiral is turbulence. It is not the signal to eject. It is the signal to trust your training, to hold your discipline, to reset. That's why every losing streak, every breaking point is not just a threat. It's an invitation to step into the trader you could become, the one who doesn't panic, who doesn't chase, who doesn't let fear write the rules. But here's the challenge. Most traders don't see the invitation. They see only the cliff. They believe the spiral means the end, when in fact it can be the beginning. That's why I created the Reset Protocol, a simple framework that any trader can apply when the spiral begins. Because the spiral doesn't care about your experience, your intelligence, or your past success. It will come for you eventually. The only question is whether you'll be ready when it does. And in the next part of this journey, I'm going to give you the exact steps to break it. The Reset Protocol, built on 5 principles that can transform your breaking point into your breakthrough. But before we dive into those steps, remember this. The spiral is not created by the market. It is created by you. And that means you also have the power to end it. Every trader eventually faces the spiral. The question is not if, but when. And when it happens, you need a weapon powerful enough to stop it before it consumes your account, your discipline, and your confidence. That weapon is the Reset Protocol, built on 5 simple but powerful steps. I call them the 5R: recognize, rip, reset, record, re-enter. Each one is a blade that cuts through the fog of fear, the lies of pride, and the weight of hopelessness. And together, they form a shield strong enough to protect you when everything else feels like it's falling apart. R1, recognize. The spiral begins in silence. It doesn't announce itself with sirens. It creeps in with small slips, trading a setup that's close enough, increasing lot size after a loss, moving a stop just a few pips further. That's why the first step is awareness. Recognize the signs. When your hands are shaking before you click buy or sell, when your heart races because you need a win, when you catch yourself staring at your P&L instead of your checklist, these are alarms. Most traders ignore them until it's too late. But the spiral loses its power the moment you see it for what it is. Recognition is not weakness. It's the beginning of strength. Or to rip. Once you recognize the spiral, you must rip yourself out of it immediately. Close the platform. Stand up. Step away from the screen. The spiral thrives on motion, on urgency, on the belief that the next click will fix everything. By ripping yourself out, you interrupt the cycle. Think of it like pulling the plug on a machine that's overheating. You don't wait for it to burn down. You shut it off. Traders fear stepping away because they think the market will leave them behind. But the market isn't going anywhere. It will open tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. What might not be there if you refuse to rip yourself away is your capital. Walking away is not surrender, it's survival. R3. Reset. Now comes the heart of the protocol. Reset is not just taking a break. It's an active purge. It's about clearing the emotional residue that clouds your judgment. One powerful exercise is the 4-6-8 breath. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 6. Exhale for 8. Do this for 2 minutes and you'll feel the fog begin to lift. Your mind slows down. Your heart rate steadies. Your body remembers what calm feels like. Another reset tool is distance. Physical distance matters. Get out of the room. Touch the outside world. Remind yourself that life exists beyond charts, candles, and pips. The sun doesn't care about your losses. The wind doesn't care about your drawdown. The market will still be there tomorrow, but your clarity won't if you keep suffocating in the spiral. Resetting is the act of reclaiming that clarity. R4, record. Once the fog lifts, you must confront the truth. And the truth lives in your journal. Write it down. Don't sugarcoat it. I lost because I broke my rules. I doubled my risk. I ignored my stop. Put the words on paper. Because what stays unspoken festers. When you write, you transform chaos into clarity. You turn vague shame into concrete lessons. Daniel, the trader who blew his account after increasing risk, never journaled. He let the spiral live in his head until it consumed him. Anna, who walked away for 3 weeks, wrote every day. She poured her fear, her anger, her doubts onto paper, and in doing so she took away their power. Recording is not about punishment. It's about perspective. And perspective is the antidote to despair. R5, re-enter. This is where most traders fail. After a reset, they jump back in with full size, desperate to prove they're back. But that's just the spiral in disguise. Re-entering means starting small, microlots, minimal size, even paper trading if necessary. Marcus, the trader who tied his confidence to position size, only found peace when he humbled himself to trade so small it felt meaningless. But it wasn't meaningless. It was therapy. Each tiny trade was a rep, a practice in execution, a reminder that discipline matters more than profit. Re-entering small teaches the brain that trading doesn't have to equal panic. That losses don't have to equal identity. That discipline is the real edge. And once you prove you can follow your rules at small size, you earn the right to scale back up. The 5R work because they attack the spiral at every level. Recognition breaks denial. Rip breaks urgency. Reset clears emotion. Record builds perspective. Re-enter rebuilds discipline. Together, they transform the breaking point from a cliff into a checkpoint. Instead of falling, you pause, reset, and continue the journey stronger. But don't make the mistake of thinking this is a one-time fix. The spiral will come again, and when it does, the 5R must become habit. They are not emergency brakes you pull once. They are routines you repeat until they are second nature. But here's the challenge. Applying the 5R requires humility. You must admit you are not in control of the market. You never were. You are only in control of yourself, your rules, your patience, your response. Traders who cling to the illusion of control see every losing streak as betrayal. Traders who release it see streaks as turbulence, inevitable but survivable. And that difference is what separates those who burn out from those who last. Think back to the athletes who recover from devastating defeats. The boxer who regains his stance after being knocked down. The pilot who steadies the plane in turbulence. The child who stumbles hundreds of times before learning to walk. Their secret is not avoiding the fall, it's mastering the reset. The 5R are your version of that mastery. They are your way to stand back up, to steady your course, to walk again with discipline as your guide. So here's my question to you. Are you willing to humble yourself enough to apply the 5R the next time the spiral calls your name? Because make no mistake, it will call, and the voice will be loud, persuasive, seductive. But if you can answer with discipline, with awareness, with humility, you won't just survive the spiral. You will transform it into the very thing that makes you unshakable. And in the next part of this journey, we will go even deeper. Because the real test doesn't end with re-entering small. It begins with rebuilding confidence after it's been shattered. And that is where most traders either collapse for good or rise stronger than ever. Confidence is a strange companion in trading. When it is absent, every trade feels like a coin flip. Hesitation eats opportunities alive, and fear whispers in your ear before every click. But when confidence grows too strong, it mutates into arrogance, and arrogance blinds traders faster than fear ever could. That is why the breaking point does not just shatter your balance, it shatters your confidence. And picking up those pieces without letting them cut you deeper is one of the hardest challenges a trader will ever face. Take Sarah's story. She was precise, steady, almost surgical in her approach. Her system worked and she trusted it. But then came the streak, sharp, unrelenting, brutal. She doubled down after a few losses, chasing redemption. When those trades failed, her panic set in. In less than a month, she wasn't just down money. She was down faith in herself. The charts that once looked like opportunities now looked like traps. Every signal looked suspicious. She hadn't just lost trades. She had lost her inner compass. The first mistake traders make in this situation is rushing to restore their old confidence, trying to feel the same certainty they once had. But confidence does not return in a flood. It returns in drops. One drop for each disciplined decision. One drop for each controlled risk. One drop for each time you resist fear. Sarah learned that rebuilding confidence wasn't about proving she could win again. It was about proving she could follow her process even when winning felt impossible. Think of confidence like a bridge. At first, it is built with thin planks and shaky nails. Every correct trade strengthens it. Every disciplined choice adds stability. Over time, the bridge becomes strong enough to walk on. But a losing streak is like fire. It burns sections of the bridge down. Suddenly, you're standing at the edge of the gap, staring into emptiness, terrified to take another step. Many traders try to sprint across, hoping momentum will carry them. Most fall. The wiser ones rebuild plank by plank, slowly, deliberately, patiently. That's how true confidence is restored. Through repetition, through discipline, through humility. Marcus's journey proves this. For him, progress was measured not by execution but by size. Every increase in lot size felt like victory. He rose from microlots to trades that moved his account by thousands in a single swing. But when his losing streak hit, those oversized trades gutted him. Half his account gone. Confidence erased. He tried to recover by trading even bigger, convinced one win would undo weeks of pain. But his emotions were raw, his patience thin, his decision-making clouded. He bled even more. The breakthrough only came when he forced himself to shrink down. Microlots so small they felt meaningless. But they weren't meaningless. They were medicine. Each tiny trade was a controlled exposure, rewiring his brain to see trading not as panic, not as identity, but as execution. He learned to value process over profit, discipline over thrill, and slowly confidence returned, drop by drop. Rebuilding is not glamorous. It doesn't look heroic. It looks like closing your laptop when you want nothing more than to click buy or sell. It looks like journaling instead of overtrading. It looks like paper trading when your pride screams for redemption. It looks like restraint, silence, humility. And that is why so few traders survive this phase. Because discipline in silence feels like defeat. But it isn't defeat. It is the forge where real confidence is born. A losing streak is not punishment. It is practice. It is the market testing your foundation, shaking it until the weak parts crumble so you can rebuild them stronger. Just as athletes grow in the pain of training, traders grow in the silence of rebuilding. The streak doesn't define you. It refines you. There is beauty in this process, if you're willing to see it. In Japan, there's an art called kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold. The cracks are not hidden, they are celebrated. The object becomes more valuable, not in spite of the break, but because of it. Your losing streaks are your cracks. Your resets are the gold. Together, they tell a story that is richer, stronger, and more powerful than a trader who never faced failure. Because the trader who has never been broken has also never been tested. And untested edges always dull when the real storm comes. History proves it. Jesse Livermore, one of the most legendary traders of the early 20th century, went bankrupt multiple times before building his fortune again. Michael Jordan, often called the greatest basketball player of all time, missed more shots than most players will ever take. Legends are not built on winning streaks. They are built on resilience after losing streaks. And the same will be true for you. You are not defined by the red numbers on your screen, nor by the days when your confidence crumbles. You are defined by whether you reset, whether you rebuild, whether you rise again. Because the market does not reward those who never fall. It rewards those who learn how to stand back up over and over again. So how do you rise stronger? Start by redefining success. During a reset, success is not profit. Success is walking away instead of spiraling. Success is journaling instead of gambling. Success is executing your plan perfectly, even on a tiny position. These invisible victories rebuild the foundation you lost. Then stretch your perspective. 10 losses in a row feel like the end when you zoom in. But when you zoom out, you realize they mean nothing in a career that will span tens of thousands of trades. The spiral shrinks when your vision expands. Finally, reconnect with your why. Why did you start trading? Was it freedom? Was it mastery? Was it the love of solving puzzles no one else can solve? Losing streaks make you forget. Resets make you remember, and that memory is fuel. The ultimate reset is not just about recovery. It's about transformation. To stop identifying with your losses. To stop measuring yourself by your worst day. To see each streak not as a tombstone but as a milestone. When you separate your identity from your outcomes, you trade with freedom. You no longer need the market to validate you. You already know who you are. And ironically, it is in that state, humble, disciplined, detached, that profits begin to flow again. Because the market respects those who respect themselves enough to walk away, reset, and return sharper. So here is your challenge. For the next 7 days, don't measure success by dollars. Measure it by discipline. Each day, score yourself 1 to 10 on how well you followed your plan, respected your stops, managed your risk. Journal it, review it. At the end of the week, you won't just see numbers, you'll see progress. Progress that no losing streak can erase. Progress that no spiral can steal. That is how you begin to rise stronger. That is how you build resilience. That is how you turn breaking points into breakthroughs. And now, we come full circle. The breaking point is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of your real one. The spiral is not your enemy. It is your teacher. The reset is not weakness. It is wisdom. And the scars you carry from your losses are not signs of failure. They are proof that you endured, that you survived, that you refused to quit. One day, you will look back at this streak, this pain, this silence, and you will realize it was the pressure before the diamond, the storm before the calm, the crack that turned to gold. You are not broken. You are becoming unshakable. This is the mental reset. This is resilience. This is you rising stronger than ever before.